Right, we're just reconvening the game after lunch. It's turn 4 of 16, the French assaults. So we look right down the line, are all just about to go in. We'll see how well the Allies can hold them off. On to allocation of ADCs, and we'll be into some hand-to-hand combat, I expect, as turn 4 starts. Turn 4, and the French are launching their assault. First battalion is charged into the Highlanders, and I think they'll come off with a bit of trouble. Another battalion has charged into the Royal Scots with 2 battalions in support. Further along the line, we've got a battalion charging in against the Dutch artillery battery, and another battalion charging into Dutch militia. So that brigade looking like it's got a better chance of success. Then we move over to the far flank. We've got 3 French battalions charging into 2 units of Hanoverian militia and a Dutch line battalion. So again, pretty good chances for the French there. The British have got their reserves to come on the movement phase, and we also have the French cavalry reserve. 2 units of Lancers have arrived on table. So we'll see how that pans out in a minute. So we've got a whole lot of fire to do and then some charges. We'll come back and see how the action's going in a minute or 2. Right, the defensive volleys have just happened for this first brigade. The Highlanders caused no fewer than 6 casualties on this charging French battalion, and the Royal Scots did pretty well. They caused 3 casualties on this charging French battalion. So we'll just go and do the charge results, but I don't reckon this looks too good for the French. Let's find the charge results table. So we both roll 2d6. I've got 7 for the 1st French battalion.
5.
And Charlie's got 5. Okay, so I have a general attached, so that takes them up to veterans. You have a general attached, so you're elite. So you're +2, Charlie, and I'm +1.
Yeah.
Hang on a second. We need to consider whether we've got any re-rolls. I'm going to re-roll my 2 because I've got a supporting battalion. Okay, I still get a 2. So I'm +1, which takes me up to 8.
I'm
Charlie?
going to re-roll a 3.
What was the other dice? A 4.
4.
Okay, re-roll the 3.
3.
Okay, so you stay the same. Right, so you add 2 to yours, Charlie, for being upgraded to elite.
Yep.
All right, I'm not unformed. No adjustments in the formation column, I don't think. And then in casualties, I've taken 8 casualties, so that's -2. And I took 6 casualties in the charge, so that's -3, so I lose 5. So I'm only on 3. And Charlie, you took no casualties at all.
I'm on 9.
So you're on 9, so I've lost by 6. Oh, that doesn't look too good. So looking on the results table, infantry versus infantry, 6 or worth. Whereas I retreat and take 1d3 casualties, and you stand, Charlie. All right, now let's go on to the second combat in this brigade. So I took 3 casualties on charging in. I have no general attached. Charlie, you have no general attached. You're veterans. So let's both roll 2d6 for this charge. Oh, I've got 11. And you've got 7. You've got a rear support, Charlie, so you can re-roll the 2. So you've still got 7. All right, so this is a bit better for me. So let's do adjustments. Charlie, add 1 to yours because you're veteran.
Okay.
Okay, I get no adjustments. I am unformed, unfortunately, so I lose 2. So that goes down to 9 from 11. Then I took 3 casualties in the charge, which is -2. And I have 6 casualties now, which is another -1, so I lose another 3. So I'm on 6.
I'm on 8.
And you're on 8. Oh dear. So that looks better, but it looks like I've lost again. 0 to -2. Attacker volleys. And I'm in column. I get 1 combat dice, and Charlie stands. So I grind to a halt and let off a ragged volley. So this French brigade has been held off. The British chose not to counterattack, wanting to keep their formation intact. We'll move on to the other brigade's assaults now, and we'll come back to you after we've done the charge results. Right, this is the end of turn 4. The British veterans, perhaps not surprisingly, repel the French assault on the ridge in front of their own artillery battery. But over as we get to the Allies, things didn't go quite so well. The Dutch-Belgian artillery did indeed throw back the infantry battalion that tried to assault them. As we move along the line, the Dutch lines are in disarray. The forward battalions both recoiled as the French battalions charged them and burst through their supporting unit. So we have the retreating line Dutch-Belgian infantry, who have also formed, who've stopped, but they've unformed as they burst through the Dutch Jaegers. And on this flank we have Dutch militia unformed also by the bursting through of the retreating, their fellow retreating militia battalion. Still have the steadfast British in the rear here. I'm sure they will try and move forward to fill the gap, but also somewhat concerningly to the French, this Hanoverian battalion broke and is routing. However, in the swing of the results in this game, the 2nd Hanoverian battalion put up stout resistance and threw back the assaulting French column, who are themselves in retreat. So mixed results on the far left of the Allied line. Bit of chaos in the Dutch-Belgian portion of the line, and the British veterans holding on robustly on their right flank, and the 2nd British Brigade still unengaged and facing off against the advancing final French battalion. It's only 4 turns in. We'll see where we go in turn 5. So the British become much more aggressive in turn 5. The Highlanders have taken the assault to the French column that they drove to a standstill with their volley fire last turn. And we've got the British Dragoon Guards just moving up behind them, looking to exploit the gap, but a little bit wary of all of that French artillery that's sitting over there. So they've avoided wheeling into this gap here and are just using the cover of the French infantry at the moment to stay out of artillery fire. And over here, the French thought they found a hole and advanced through that gap, but they've been now met by the Scots Greys, pounding on from reserve for the British, and supporting the Scots Greys we have the Life Guards. So the attack of the Heavy Brigade is underway. We'll see how well these French columns can respond and how the rest of the battle goes. It could be a big turn towards the British in the centre anyway. As we look over to the flank, still looks somewhat precarious for the British and their allies as the French columns continue to hit the Dutch, Belgian and Hanoverian line. We'll see how things turn out in turn 5. Right, at the end of turn 6, the Highlanders have held their position on the hill and thrown back and destroyed the infantry battalion that was assaulting them, and the Dragoon Guards wait poised to be released from behind them. Whereas over here, as we know, the British cavalry have broken through the centre, and this French brigade has lost, had 1 battalion wiped out, so I'll have to do a brigade falter test, and this brigade has lost its 2nd battalion, so still above 50%, but again we'll have to do a brigade falter test. Over on this side, where I thought the British would collapse, or their allies, it's still looking pretty good. So the Dutch Belgians have thrown back the 2 assaulting French infantry battalions, despite both forward battalions being unformed, which is really good going. Over here, 1 of the attacking battalions was thrown back by the Hanoverians. The 2nd French battalion did manage to wipe out 1 of the Hanoverian militia battalions, so there's only 2 left here. Front battalion again unformed, but the French brigade also has 1 battalion retreating. So all in all, the French attack is sort of stalled here. Still a lot of battalions on the field, but British cavalry breaking through in the centre, and on the far flank it seems a standoff. 4 veteran and elite British battalions facing off against 6 French line battalions, and the French decided the best thing to do there was to actually pin the British veteran brigade up here, because if they do go charging in against the 19th Rifles, and other elite battalions such as the Highlanders behind cover, they reckon their chances aren't great. So they're best served just by pinning the British. We just want to look at the end of turn 5. It's been pretty dramatic. British are looking in a pretty good position at the moment. French breakthrough is looking a long way away. Turn 6, and it's looking pretty good for the British. Both the attacking French brigades over on this side of the battle have gone hesitant, which means no offensive action from them. So the Dutch Belgians have reformed on the hill. So all of their infantry battalions are formed, supported with the British in the rear. There's a bit of bad news. The Hanoverian brigade that was here got a result of 2, and so has fled off the table. So the French, if they didn't have faltering orders, do have an open flank now, but to respond to that, one of the British battalions has about faced. There we go, there's a nice view of British, have about faced and are up against this wall to see off any flank attack. British all feeling pretty confident here, plenty of support in depth, waiting for the potential French attack, which feels like it's getting weaker each time. I'll take another set of volleys this turn, so pretty much seen off over here. As we move across, and have to remember this is only turn 6, we have an unfortunately hesitant French infantry battalion right in front of the Dutch gunners. They are absolutely salivating at the prospect. Meanwhile, their sister battalion, which is out of support range, is also in trouble because the British lifeguards are about to charge them in the flank. And the Scots Greys, having initiative, have charged the recently arrived French Lancers, which this turn are hesitant again, Charlie? Are they hesitant?
Yes.
They're hesitant again, so the French Lancers are looking distinctly under-equipped to receive this charge, whereas over on this flank we've seen some nifty manoeuvring by the Highlanders. They've come off their hill and are charging one of the French infantry battalions that were previously assaulting them. There you go, the Highlanders. And the Royal Scots have also decided it's time to go on the offensive, so they are charging a second of the French infantry battalions, and the Dragoon Guards are joining in. Almost like Waterloo, when supposedly the Highlanders rode on the stirrups of the Union Brigade as it charged into Delauncourt, pretty much being replicated here. And the British Dragoons trying to charge to make sure they're out of sight of all of that French artillery, which would otherwise make a juicy target. So it looks like this could be pretty much the end of D'Erlon's assault. We'll see as we go and play through turn 7. Right, we're just at the beginning of turn 7. As you can see, the lifeguards have successfully broken the French infantry battalion that was down there and charged on, and are now in the flank of that French foot battery. This French brigade is in pretty reasonable health, 4 battalions still, 5 battalions rather, up close against the Dutch lines, no longer hesitant. This brigade, however, is broken, only 3 battalions left, sitting right in front of the Dutch-Belgian lines, continuing to get ripped into by the cannon fire and musketry. Expect them to start retiring. Over on this flank, we have a second broken French brigade. It's got a retire order, only 2 battalions left on the table, and we've lost half of the Lancers. So potentially we've got 3 broken French brigades, the Lancers Brigade and the 2 infantry brigades, and otherwise we just have our final brigade pinning the British Veteran Brigade on the far right of the British line. And bizarrely enough, the British had a bit of a disappointing turn. The Dragoon Guards failed to charge in and were pushed back. The Highlanders didn't actually destroy the French infantry battalion, just simply caused enough casualties for it to dissolve because it was fairly weak. And the Royal Scots did not charge home, and actually their opposing battalion pulled away in front of them. However, the Scots Greys continued great attack by the British heavy cavalry, along with their companions, the Life Guards, and they've wiped out that Lancer regiment. So we'll just have a look at the results about broken brigades, but potentially this is it. The attack by Durnall's corps is in tatters. We have the two flanks intact, but the centre has had the heart ripped out of it. We'll have a look at the rules and just see where we go from here.